Hey everybody, it's DJ Taz here at the Lone Star Music School. About to get live in a few with David Sweat. I'm co-hosting with Boston Chris Barnes from ETX ROCKS. Don't forget to come out and see your, oh my God. Okay.
Covering music-related content of all genres. If it filters through Eastern Texas, it's fair game. Y'all bring it. From Texarkana down to the coast and Dallas down to Houston and everything in between. We are ETX ROCKS! Hit the brakes. Cut. Hello, y'all. Welcome to another episode of ETX ROCKS podcast with Boston Chris. This week we're interviewing a great drummer from the Longview area, originally from Austin, by the name of Mr. David Sweat, otherwise known as Texas Beats. And we have a special co-host this week, Miss April Hot Davidson, otherwise known as DJ / KJ Taz. Say hello, April.
Hello, everybody.
We're real happy to have April here today co-hosting. We're sitting here live in the city of Longview, Texas at the Lone Star Music School on High Street and fixing to get into a conversation with David Sweat about his love for music and playing drums and all kinds of other things that he can kind of help us know a little bit more about him. So say hello, Mr. David Sweat.
Hey, everybody.
So, April, you have anything you want to start with, or you want me to start?
Go ahead.
Okay. She pointed at me and nodded.
Go
just
ahead.
for you folks out there that
Go ahead.
might not have the Braille version of this podcast. She pointed at me and nodded, and that means ask a question, Boston.
Get it done.
Get her done. All right, so David, I know you've been playing drums pretty much all your life. I understand you're 26, right?
Yep.
And you've been playing since what? 2?
Since about 2.
2 years old.
Yeah.
And so your folks must have bought a drum set for you at some point.
Well, it started off, my brother was kind of autistic. He had a speech impairment.
Okay.
Impediment, I guess is what you say. When he was 3 years old. Well, when he turned 5, me and my twin sister came along, and my dad kept on to the drum kit because it was a Junior Rogers drum kit he got for him to help with that speech impediment. Well, when I turned 2 years old, my dad was playing drums in the living room, and I was like, I want to do that. So he set up the small Junior kit, and I was there in my Barney's onesie, rocking out to Madonna, just going, having at it, you know.
Nice.
Nice.
Been doing it ever since.
The Barney onesie.
Yeah.
Madonna.
Oh, yeah.
Thank God there was no
Rock and
YouTube
roll
back then,
there.
right?
Yeah.
You would not be able to run for public office at this point, I think, right?
Probably not.
Could you imagine the caption on that one?
Yeah. So
Hey, I made a really good heavy rock version of Barney song, I'm telling you.
Bloopers in my onesies.
So I guess music was a big part of your childhood. Your dad
Oh, yeah.
being a musician as well.
Oh yeah, he started off here in East Texas, actually here in Longview, back in about 1965, 1966, and worked out in Dallas during the 70s, moved to Austin back in 1973 during the huge music movement down there, and he stayed there, went to school, and he basically kind of gave it up back in the 80s, and he just kept it as a talent, you know, just something
A hobby.
a hobby, yeah. And basically kind of showed me the ropes, and there was always Chicago Transit Authority, Vanilla Fudge, Jimi Hendrix.
Long way from Madonna.
Yeah, well, we had, I mean, my mom would blast Barry Manilow and stuff like that. So, I
Nice.
mean, I had a very diverse range of music I would listen to as a kid, so it just, you know, gained me into being more versatile because, you know, I like everything.
Right.
Who are some of your biggest musical inspirations?
Biggest, well, Chicago Transit Authority, or AKA Chicago, Styx, that arena rock sound they had going for them. I really liked that. And then I ventured off into stuff like the Beatles, Jimi Hendrix, Vanilla Fudge, which was a psychedelic New York band back in the day that just, they took a cover and literally made it their own. And it was just interesting the way, especially the way Carmine Appice, the drummer for Nail Fudge, approached a song was completely different from how any other drummer did it. And it's just like how Ginger Baker was the same way when he played a song with Cream. And I got into stuff older, well, it was new when I started getting into it, and it was stuff like Incubus and Primus and,
wow.
Slayer. I'd get into Nirvana. I also got into hip-hop. I started playing along with hip-hop because they used a drum machine, so it was always on perfect time. So I started playing along to old NWA records.
Nice.
They produced them on records back then.
Yeah, they had this stuff called vinyl.
Yeah, and it wasn't just put on your seat upholstery in your mom's station. But
although you could get a good groove out of those seats.
Oh yeah, you sure could, as long as they spring didn't pop out and get you. But
so I bet you this kind of diversity that your family kind of instilled upon you has kind of led you to be where you're at as far as you can play anything.
Yeah, well, I can't play everything, but I try to apply myself to every genre of music.
Right.
Because really, all there is time signatures and tempos. And once you have that and your paradiddles down, which I don't have my paradiddles down, but, once you have all that down, there's no way possible you can sit behind a group of musicians and not know what to do.
Right.
Once you've learned how to do all that, you can play with anybody. You really can.
It's awesome being versatile. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So at what point in time, I know you've been playing, I guess 24 years, your whole life basically. At what point in time did you transition from just playing music as maybe something to get you through the day, a hobby, to actually maybe having the dream of building a profession out of it?
Well, when I was 16, I was playing with a bunch of college students out in UT. And, I was 16 years old. It was a youth group organization called Young Life. I was going to Anderson High School, and that was a big fixture there, and it was it was really nice. And they would do a acoustic show, and I came in and I brought my drums and I started playing with them, and they just loved it. And before then, when I was 13, I was playing drums with garage bands, and we all kind of didn't sound very good starting out, but eventually we got better. And I started working when I turned 17 as a mechanic, and I went full time into that. And it got to the point where I was working every day, 6 a.m. to about 7 p.m., and I was loading up my drums and going to a show, being there by 8 o'clock, starting at 9. Didn't get done till about 2.
Right.
And I was almost making the same amount of money playing a show every night as I was working on cars. So I decided from then to just kind of, keep my mechanic ability as a backup, just in case things slow down in the industry and work's tough to get. I can always go back to that.
But it was right around the age of 16 where you kind of
16,
said, you know what,
17.
I can probably make something of this.
Yeah, it was around 16, 17. And it was 2007 is when I got my first big break, and my band opened up for 3 Doors Down there at the Frank Irwin Center. And that was...
What was the name of that
amazing. Band? Man, I've been in so many. I was
just make something up.
That's a variety.
Make something up. Doom Gloom. I don't know. That's actually a band name of a buddy of mine, Justin Posey, that he came up with. But I played in so many bands. I was probably with that band for maybe 3 months when we opened up for them. And
that's awesome.
within that 3 months, we got so tight and got such a huge following. We had that opportunity. We basically opened up for the big opener, and then it was 3 Doors Down, and we just had a ball in the back green room. And
how old were you when that went down?
I was 17.
Wow.
I was 17 years old. Yeah, I'm still young, guys.
That's pretty cool, though. It's like,
Well, it's been cool.
I mean,
Anyway.
yeah, most kids are in high school studying for finals, and he's on stage waiting.
Right?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
First taste of playing to almost 200,000 people. Frank Erman Center. It is a 3-story interior, and we have.
Is that in Dallas?
Downtown Austin.
Okay.
And it had all 3 stories packed to the T, full of people, and it was just, it's an amazing feeling when you're there. You get real nervous at first, but once that first bass line hits, it's all good. But seeing that amount of people, it's an amazing thing, and to do something that early in life, it kind of brings you back to how it must have felt for all the young musicians at Woodstock that were playing in front of all those people. It's just amazing.
So you were living in Austin at this time.
Yeah.
And you moved to the Longview area, I guess. When was that?
That was in 2012.
And why'd you come to Longview?
I have a mentally retarded uncle who was being taken care of in my grandmother's house. And when the Obama administration took place and Obamacare went into play, they got rid of one of the programs that was allowing him to have in-home health care.
Right.
So we brought a family friend in to take care of him. Well, a violent altercation happened in the home, and we got a phone call from Longview Police Department and a friend of ours, Martin Precker, and we were on our way up there up here to Longview, and basically we had to get him into another home health facility in Spring Hill, which they do an amazing job taking care of him, and they did about $17,000 worth of damage to the interior of the house. And
so you had all this momentum building down there in Austin. And Austin has a really fruitful music scene.
Oh yeah.
Whereas Longview, we're still working on that, but we'll get there.
Oh.
But you put that on hold for family.
I put all that on hold, and basically after my mother and father got done fixing up the house, my mother, I was in the back bedroom and she was crying, and I said, "What's wrong?" And she goes, "I don't know if I could trust anybody to live in that house. I might just have to sell it." And she grew up in that house. We've had that house in the family since 1958, and 56 or 58. And I turned around and I told my mom, "Look, I'll sell my property. I'll put everything else that I have in a trailer, and I'll just move in." And she gave me one of the biggest hugs. And it was just a heartfelt hug. And she just thanked me, and I've been living here ever since. So.
How are things going for you right now?
Things are going actually very well. I've just recently, within the past couple months, hooked up with 2 bands. One of them being a Texas country band, Jeremy Payton, which I love to death. He's like family.
Yeah, Jeremy Payton. He'll be doing an acoustic show tonight at Memphis Bar.
Yeah.
With Donnie Dotson.
Herb and D's on Tuesday.
Herb and D's on Tuesday.
He's just he's a stand-up guy.
Very good musician as well.
Oh, very good, solid voice. Never in or out of pitch, and
right.
Well, he's always in pitch. He's never out. He's just really good. He's got a real good songwriting ability, and about a month and a half after I joined his band, I was approached by Tyler Linnaeus, who I saw when I first moved here, when I started working in Dallas during the 2012 era.
Right.
And he needed a drummer for the time at that time, and he said, "You want to come out and jam a little bit?" And I said, "You know what, I'm working with somebody right now, but we could try it out." And I came over there, and we played one of his originals, and I'd never heard it before. He said, "Just give me that John Bonham kind of rock feel to it." I said, "All right, I got you." I've been doing covers of Led Zeppelin for years. So we got done, and he said, "I want you for my drummer. You're exactly what I'm looking for." So I agreed, and I said, "All right, just make sure our calendars are synced up with both bands, and you got me." So.
It gives you a heartwarming feeling when you hear those words.
Yeah.
You're exactly what I'm
looking for. And of course,
I need you.
Tyler Linnaeus is a 2-time Entertainer of the Year winner for East Texas Music Awards.
Yeah.
And of course, you've been nominated for Drummer of the Year in those same awards in 2015.
And back in 2015, I was when I was nominated. I had been working with Cody Wayne Westbound 21.
Right.
We did a bunch of openings for Kevin Fowler, Bart Crow, William Clark Green, and it was a blast.
Right.
I love Cody to death.
Still waiting for you, Cody.
Yeah.
Still waiting for you on the
waiting.
podcast, Cody.
Cody, you better get with Boston.
Calling you out, Mr. Wayne. So tell me, David, growing up, or kind of entering the Austin music scene, and then moving to the quote-unquote small town of Longview compared to Austin, what are some of the differences between the music scene there and here? And how difficult was it for you to kind of pick up where you left off
Transitioning both.
Well, the transition between Austin and here was mainly a lot of the people around here still really love old style country and which I love to death. I grew up with the Possum. We got Hank, the singer, not the third or junior guys, but
there was someone before them called Hank.
Yes.
Look him up.
So,
Not a lot of people know.
and when I came in here, it was actually a pretty easy transition, and it actually honestly started with Dennis Ross and the Axberg brothers. My dad played with Dennis Ross and Jim Axberg.
Local legends here in the Longview area.
Back in 1968 to 1972, and my mom saw that Dennis Ross and the Axberg brothers were playing at the back porch and said, you know what, you ought to come try it out. Well, at that time, they had already played there, and they were having a show at the Lake of Pines. And I met up at the Lake of Pines, and Dennis Ross just looked at me and said, you look just like your daddy. And I said, well, thank you. He goes, oh, my Lord, you just sound like him, too. And I said, well, okay.
What did he say next? Can you play like him, too?
actually, he actually said that night he thought I played almost better than my dad.
Wow.
Which is something, every child looks, when they look up to their parent as their biggest influence, especially in the instrument, when somebody approaches you and says something like that, it makes us feel accomplished, and that was nice. And they welcomed me with open arms. And the thing about Austin and East Texas is there's a lot of the feeling. In Austin there's actually a little bit more competition between musicians. But here in East Texas, everybody loves one another. That's what I like about it.
Yep.
A lot of the musicians, we all work together.
We all support each other.
We all support each other,
right.
and it's a wonderful thing. And when I worked in Dallas,
that's why a lot of people don't want to leave here.
Yeah. And when I worked in Dallas for a little bit, they were even in more competition with one another, and I kind of helped bring some of that, work with one another of East Texas feel to them. And,
to the Dallas area?
To the Dallas area, and that's how I made a lot of friends out in Dallas. And I came back here, and everybody thought I was something big because I played in the big city of Dallas. And I'm like, I'll sit in with anybody, because when it comes down to it, you're just being who you are. And when I'm playing, when I'm hanging out with the musicians here, it's like family, and a lot of people say they have adopted me as their child. And
my girlfriend just said those words literally 7 days ago.
Family.
And, any adoption papers that are presented, I'll accept and sign because, I like big family,
He's only saying that because we have a pool, by the way.
Oh,
the slimy pool.
Yeah, I need that pool, man. It's hot up here.
So you mentioned sitting in with a lot of different musicians, and since we're talking about Longview legends, you said sitting in with people, and that reminds me of a drummer that pretty much sit in with anybody at any time, Mr. Uncle Dallas.
Uncle Dallas.
Don,
yeah. So what kind of relationship did you have with him?
Well, when I first moved up here, I asked him, do you remember Ben Sweat? And he goes, that sounds familiar. And I said, he played with Bobby O back in the days. And he said, well, when I was around in the music scene, he was already moved down here. But And I started talking to him, and I got to hear more stories about the people my father played with that are still living here. And it's we gain a mutual respect for one another because we both had the same vision of everybody just treating each other like equals and not being in competition with one another, and helping each other in the business of music, because one of the things he helped push around here was allowing the rock scene to actually have a scene here. Before him, there was kind of a rock scene, but it wasn't like it is today.
Right.
And Uncle Dallas was one of the first to really get clubs to actually put deposits on a deposit when you go into booking. He was so influential around here, and he influenced me greatly on how I would approach people and how I would comment and try to help everybody that I meet.
Well, I can tell you from a personal standpoint, I've known you for, I guess, about 8 months or so. Off and on, we run into each other all the time, out in the town or whatever. And you remind me of him so much. Not just your play style, but the way you are with people, the way it doesn't matter who's playing. You will go and you'll support, and if they'll let you play, hey man, I'll play with you.
Oh yeah. That's how everybody gets going good. That's how you help promote people being good. Because everybody I'm gonna actually flat out say it. Everybody that starts playing music and starts playing an instrument sucks.
Yep.
Every single one of them does.
Yep.
And it all depends on how much of a support they have backing them, how good they really get. So, we're gonna take a.
No, go ahead.
So when that happened, it's just. I lost my train of thought, but
we were talking about Uncle Dallas.
Yeah, but Uncle Dallas was just one of those people that just loved. He loved life. He almost lost his life back in the '80s, and it was almost a tragedy. And luckily, he pulled through, and he was one of those guys that was literally like born again overnight, and. Once you have something like that hit you, you start looking at things a little differently. And he and I saw a lot on the same page. So he was, he's one of those kind of guys. If if something's on your mind or you need to just talk to somebody, he was always willing to sit there and listen. And what we call that in the industry is a sponge. They just sit there and they absorb it all, and they actually sit there and listen. And what he liked about me was the fact that I'm the same way.
Right.
When I'm talking to somebody and somebody's talking to me, I listen. I'm not just, it's not in one ear and out the other. I'm actually sitting there listening. I might be fidgety because I'm a drummer. We have a lot of energy, so I'm not having my fingers, but I am listening. And that's one thing that Uncle Dallas was always good.
I'll tell you the thing I liked about him. It didn't matter if you met him one time. He knew exactly who you were the next time he seen you. And he proved that to me. I was like, I didn't think you were going to remember who I was.
And he
was like, I remember everybody.
He might not have remembered your name at the moment. So if you're a male, he'd probably, hey, Bubba!
It was either Bubba or brother.
Yeah.
He was like Hulk Hogan with the word brother. Boston, I'm calling you up, brother. I'm calling you from my home phone, brother. Just wanted to hook up with you and talk something about the business, brother. But we'll get to more with David Sweat in 1 second. We want to thank you for tuning in to ETX Rocks with Boston Chris and special co-host today, Miss DJ Taz.
Taz in the house.
And we want to let you know that we want to keep bringing you these podcasts free of charge, but in order to do so, we have to pay our bills. And this week's episode of ETX Rocks with Boston Chris and DJ Taz is brought to you and sponsored by DJ Taz. Take it away.
Hey everybody, it's DJ Taz on scene here at Lone Star Music. We're going to get back with David Sweat in a minute. You can find me tonight and tomorrow night at Texas Players. Wednesday I'm off. Thursday and Friday I'll be at Memphis Bar, and Saturday Urban D's. Don't forget to tune in to ETX Rocks for more music and more artists.
Thank you, DJ Taz. And don't forget, you can check her out on Facebook at facebook.com/DJ/KJ Taz. And we're right back here with Mr. David Sweat. David, I understand there's more about you than just music. I understand that you're a little bit of a car aficionado as well.
Love cars.
I've restored quite a few cars, and I've always had a love of automobiles. My mother brought me to my first car show when I was 8 years old. In fact, when I was 4 years old, the first car I knew by model was a Corvette, and we were walking out of Albertsons one time, and there was a guy in a brand new 2004 Corvette, which was across. I'm not gonna get into details, but I was like, "Hey man, hey man, it's a cool car," and my mom just she just starts laughing, and the guy goes, "Thanks," and my mom goes, "Sorry, he just likes cars." And you know, at a young age, I was collecting Hot Wheels. My mother taught me how to rebuild a quadrijet carburetor.
So I understand you're the certified auto mechanic.
Yeah, well, certifications have run out. I need to take the test back.
What are your favorite types of cars? That's what I want to know.
Well, that's the problem right there, because I have many types of cars that I like.
Hip hop, R&B, rap, country.
Yeah,
mini drum beats.
I love old 32 Fords. I love
old hot rods.
You know that, and then I also like 1950s Packards.
Wow.
I like I like Europeans. And I've worked on everything from a 1925 Dodge Brothers touring sedan to a 2006 Ferrari Enzo. You know, I've worked on a lot of cars. I've done a complete air conditioning system on a Bentley Continental GT. I've been privileged enough to work on a lot of, rare cars, and I've collected a few, and I've sold all my collection except for 2 vehicles, but they're not classics yet. But I love vehicles, and I work on them. It's a hobby and a passion.
And you mentioned earlier, before I cut you off, because I didn't want to talk about it yet, so you mentioned how important it was to have a backup plan, and that this was kind of your backup plan. As far as if the music doesn't work out, you've got yourself a solid other career if it comes to that. Do you have any advice for younger musicians and keeping that backup plan in place?
Yes, when it comes to musicians, stay in school, get that GED. If you have the opportunity to go to college, go to college. Keep that music thing as a hobby. If you want to pursue it as a profession, make sure you have that backup plan. Make sure you have work experience. Start working sacking groceries, or working as a car hop, or detailing cars. Just having work experience and a resume works in your favor, because if you put down a work from, let's say, 2015 to 2018, and from 2018 to 2020, I was a musician full time, but the music industry kind of went south. But here's my work experience previous.
Right.
Employers will look at that and respect you, that you actually have kept up a resume, and that you do have work experience. And it is always important to have a backup plan, because you're never guaranteed anything in life.
Right.
I could wind up being, the next biggest, drummer all over the world, but, my
That's
story.
not a guarantee.
Yeah, it's not a guarantee. My story might end 2 years from now, and next thing you know, I'm running a automotive shop down the road.
And it sounds to me like you're fine either way.
I'm fine either way. My passion is in music. Yeah. I don't really like working on cars.
But he will.
But I will. I've got all the tools to work on cars, guaranteed.
Right.
That's also, when you go into working on cars, make sure you're going to make a big money investment, because those tools are not cheap.
I know, speaking of young people, and even as busy as you are, you still found time to mentor some younger musicians. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Oh
There's a
yeah.
question out of my mouth.
I first met JD Beck. He's a drummer from McKinney, Texas, and his parents approached me about maybe giving him some lessons. Well, he came in to Cadillac Pizza Pub there in McKinney, Texas, sat in with the band, and I looked at his parents and I said, this boy doesn't need any lessons from me. You need to just go ahead and support him and get him rolling. Well, at the same time, I met David Malone's son, Reese Malone, 11-year-old guitarist, and he was really, really good for his age. And I think it was 2014 or it was 2015 at the T-Bone Walker Blues Fest. Yep. My band from Dallas, the Soul Farmers, was playing there, and we decided to go ahead and get Reese Malone up there on stage to show off his true talent that he had. And shortly thereafter, a good friend of mine, Mr. Lance Lopez, who's a legendary guitar player all on his own.
Shout out to Lance Lopez. We'd love to have you on the show, sir.
Love you, LL.
Yeah,
But he got involved with Reese Malone and JD Beck and found Spencer Singer, and they created a band with Kelsey Key. Kelsey Key.
I think it's Key.
Mm-hmm. They created a band called Salvation from Sundown, and these kids are, and I don't even think
incredible.
There's not one teenager in that group. I think they're all younger than 13 years old.
I think so too.
And their musical talent is that of superstar status.
Yeah, they're seasoned.
They're seasoned veteran musicians already at a young age. And
if you haven't heard of them, it's Salvation from Sundown. You can find them on Facebook and listen to those kids, man. They will blow your mind.
They really will. They're amazing. And then here at the music school, Lone Star Music School, we have a blues jam every Monday night, and it's open to, I believe, all ages.
It is.
And we're here to try to help put the youth in front of an audience and get them used to playing in front of people, so when they transition to maybe thinking about doing it as a career, they can actually, when they get on stage, they don't have that stage fright anymore. And
we're actually going to be doing a show here that's going to be hosted by ETX Kids, which is under the ETX Music umbrella. You haven't heard about this yet, David.
No, I haven't.
But
they are awesome.
We will be hosting, the ETX Kids brand will be hosting a party here, hopefully by the end of July, beginning of August. We're still working on the details, but Salvation from Sundown will be performing at that party.
I'm definitely going to be here then.
Yeah, and this will all be hosted by ETX Kids, and Timmy Thomas from the Lone Star Music School will help us put out that party. And if you can't make it to that, we're hoping that'll be on a Friday or Saturday night, so that way, even during the school year, we can continue to do one of those parties every single month with a different local young band. So we want to showcase the kids of East Texas, and Timothy Thomas of the Lone Star Music School and the other musicians here at the Open Blues Jam every Monday night feel the same way. So if you haven't had a chance, y'all out there, please give ETX Kids a like. Even if you don't have kids, this is all going to be completely 100% family friendly, and a safe environment for children and people of all ages. I'm sorry for cutting you off, David, but I thought that was important where we were talking about Kelsey and
it's very important.
in that band and things like that, and the work that not only you but the other musicians are doing out here on a volunteer basis, might I add. You guys do this every single Monday night, and it's an incredible, incredible program that a lot of people are missing out on.
What do you have in the works?
In the works?
What's next for David
What's next for you?
Well, we're getting a radio single recut.
Who's we?
That would be Jeremy Payton Band. And
well, I had to specify because you have so many different bands.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
But
Throwing out your boots.
we're about to be dropping a radio single here within the next couple months, and we're looking at getting a Texas tour set up, which we're going to be playing through the Conroe, College Station area. And
That's awesome.
we've got, and then on top of that, I've got the Tidal Linnaeus Band, and we're looking at possibly setting up a national tour, and some dates around Texas, especially East Texas and Dallas area, and possible out there in Arkansas.
Y'all have
that
any
whole
venues
area.
in East Texas in mind
Let's see.
that
Tidal
we all
Linnaeus.
need to watch out for?
Well, we're going to be playing the XLN show August 20th, the XLN there in Tyler, Texas, with Tyler Linnaeus, and April 15th, Jeremy Payton has a show, I believe. It's either, well, sorry guys, I'm looking it up real quick.
Well, I can help you all out with this, actually. If you guys want to know where David Sweat's going to be with any of his incomparable bands, the Tyler Linnaeus Band, the Jeremy Payton Band, you guys can check all of these different bands out on Facebook. Tyler Linnaeus is Lenius, the Tyler Linnaeus Band on Facebook. Jeremy Payton, the last name is Peyton.
Yeah.
Jeremy Payton Band on Facebook. And please, y'all give David's page a like. That's David Texas Beats Sweat.
Texas Sweat.
Texas Sweat. Sweat. So sweat.
I love
twice.
you so much. I didn't want to correct you.
Well, that is true. But again, anytime you want to know where David's at, those are the three places you can find out. He's about to be extremely busy.
Oh, yes.
And for right now, if you want to get up close and personal with Mr. David Sweat, the place to do it is Monday night at the Open Blues Jam right here at the Lone Star Music School. David, if there's anything else you'd like to say to your fans or any people out there, any advice, anything you want to add?
Support your local music and support your local venues. Keep them flooded, because without the community around us, we would not have the opportunity to do what we do for a living, and we thank y'all very much for that.
Thank you, David. And April, is there anything you'd like to add?
Support your local music. ETX rocks.
Yeah.
I would 100% agree with that. Remember, y'all, this has been a brand new episode of the ETX Rocks podcast with Boston Chris and
KJ DJ Taz.
And we want to remind you once again to support local music and
ETX rocks.
covering music-related content of all genres. If it filters through Eastern Texas, it's fair game. Y'all bring it. From Texarkana down to the coast and Dallas down to Houston and everything in between. We are